بسم الله وسبحان الله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم عدد كل حرف كتب ويكتب أبد الآبدين ودهر الداهرين وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل إن كنتم تحبون الله فاتبعوني يحببكم الله ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم والله غفور رحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I hope everyone is well in the best of health and iman. Right, we are going to jump straight into. Okay, so what are the three types of laughing? Which type nullifies your ablution, prayer, or one of them? So three of them are mentioned. One was qahqaha, loud laughing, something which other people can hear. Al-qahqahatu, loud laughing. Number two, I mentioned al-dhihk, dad ha kaf, which is laughing, but only that which you can hear. And then you had number three, which was tabassum, smiling. So the first one, al-qahqaha, it breaks your salah and wudu. Okay. With al-dhihk, that which you can hear, it breaks your salah, but not your wudu. Okay. With tabassum, it neither breaks your salah and neither breaks your wudu. Why? Because in tabassum, you're just smiling. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So basically, those who are logged in, just make sure that when you're logged in, that you've got your name properly. As long as we've got your first name and second name, that's fine, inshallah. Okay, number two, what is the wisdom behind washing the private parts when performing a shower? So one of the wisdoms is the cross-contamination issue. So you you eliminate the possibility or the probability of dirt spreading. Because it's filth and germs of the highest degree, potentially um that's the reason why you would not um sort of, I suppose, uh, what is the word? Sorry, I'm just lost for words here. So yeah, so you wouldn't just sort of go to another element of washing. You'd go straight in. Okay. Very important. So cross-contamination is probably the biggest one. There are some others, but it's just uh, there's one of those which I emphasized last week. What is the reasoning behind performing ablution? Again, it's the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Point number one. Point number two, we discussed the subject of doing mash, wiping wet hands over the head. We also spoke about doing khilal of the fingers of the hands and the toes, and that one of the objectives behind these processes was to ensure that nothing was left dry as part of the overall process of washing. Okay, so in the very same way, one of the other reasons for performing ablution, which is really good, it just ensures that anything that's left dry, it's washed. Okay. Okay. Is pouring water over your body three times, an indication of minimum or maximum, and why? Question to you guys. Question to you guys. You know what? It's a funny answer. It's actually 50-50. I just thought of that now. Minimum, why? No, sorry. Not minimum, maximum, sorry. It's maximum. Afwan. It's maximum because uh the number of times has been made or emphasized in the Sunnah as per the generalized amount of water that's required for washing as a maximum, because one suffices, two, um, you ensure that it's done, and if it's not done, then three, you make sure that things are completely, you come to the point of satisfaction, basically. So our idea is that by the time we've done three, there should be some sense of satisfaction. But normally there's a reasoning for each three, which is not coming to mind. But number one, it's sufficing. And sorry, number two, sorry, number one, is indicates that you got enough water as a fard to wash yourself. Okay, number two suffices, and number three satisfies. You should have gained satisfaction by that time. Okay, so it's really important. Anything beyond that then is generally regarded as wastage of water, israful ma, which is not allowed in Islam. Okay. Why is washing the feet left at the end when having a shower? So again, one of the reasons is because some of the process that we're undergoing, for example, washing of the private parts, and then washing potentially any of the filth or dirt, dense dirt on the body, that in itself. And then if there's anything else that needs to be tended to, which I refer to as heavy duty, and some of you know what I'm referring to. So that's removing hair from certain parts of the body that comes in the extras, and so on and so forth. So therefore, you should ensure that feet is left at the end. What you do, as it says in the text, ثم يتنحى عن ذلك المكان, as we read last week. ثم يتنحى عن ذلك المكان. So the place that you stood, you got all that process done. You would remove yourself maybe at the back of the bathtub while standing, and then wash your feet like that once you've cleaned the bathtub relatively quickly, and then wash yourself. Okay, so hopefully that's clarified that. When a female has a shower, what is the key principle when washing her plaited hair? Come on, sisters. Let's see you give an answer. All the sisters have been quiet today. This is a sister's question, so I want a sister's answer. No brothers answering. La yujuz. It is not allowed. This is my fatwa I'm giving you. It is not allowed for brothers to answer question 6. That's official fatwa of DAIO. Probably the first one I've ever given, I bet. Right. The water should reach the roots. It should reach the roots. The water must reach the roots. Yes, absolutely fine. Spot on. إذا بلغ إذا بلغ الماء أصول الشعر, as I said in the text last week. Yes, yes. Yes. إذا بلغ الماء أصول الشعر. I think that was the wording that we learned. Okay, so that's that then. Okay, right. We are going over. Right, Brother Asim, it's over to you now. Bismillah. If you could kindly share the book, please. Yeah. Okay. Right. One thing I'm going to put on note today, some of the things that are going to be discussed are going to be relatively strong topics. They're bordering some of the masail related to marriage, some of them related to sexual education. So please do make sure that you are aware of that, inshallah. Okay. اوكي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والمعاني الموجبة للغسل إنزال المني على وجه الدفق والشهوة من الرجل والمرأة والتقاء الختانين من غير إنزال والحيض والنفاس. Brother Asim, if you could read first, please.
The factors which make ghusl obligatory: the ejaculatory discharge of spermatic fluid with passion by the man and the woman, the meeting of both the external genitals without ejaculation, menstruation, and postnatal bleeding.
Exactly. Okay, so we're talking about the factors which, in actual fact, make a shower fard, or wajib, should I say, a must. Okay, so I'm going to go through all of this in some detail. Okay, so inzalul mani. So before we do this, brother Asim, if you could just unshare. I'm just going to use the whiteboard, please. Or unless you're able to, yeah, if you could just unshare, please. Just unshare. Barakallahu feek. Right, here we are. And this is something I love doing because it brings a bit more of a right. There we are. Okay. Right. One is called money, right? I don't think I've got text. Is that? Okay, that's fine. 1 second. Let's do that then. Text, there we are. So one is called man money. Okay. Okay. Uh, Another one is called wadi. So 1 second. And wadi. And the other is called madhi. Okay. Now there's something we need to understand about these three. Okay. This is both for men and women. Okay. Very important. Something we understand. Okay. Right. So money is so these are three types of liquids that come out of the body. Okay. For men and uh, these bottom two for men and women, the top one just for men. Okay. Okay. So mani. Mani is a thick white liquid which comes out, which we'll discuss further. It can come out either due to the physical relations that a man and a woman has, or either it can come through uh, any movement that a male does with his genitals, okay, which again in Islam is haram. You know what I'm referring to, or anything else medically that might cause it. Okay, but it's a thick white liquid. Okay, and that's the liquid we refer to, which in English we translate as sperm. Okay, scientifically, mani is known as sperm. Okay, so mani. And that makes ghusl wajib. So if money comes out because of physical relations or because of any factors used to cause that liquid to come out, then that becomes the means of ghusl, bath being wajib according to the Hanafi school of thought, according to Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala. Wadi and madhi. So wadi, this is a thick liquid which is yellow in nature, thicker than money. Okay, so there's not money as in your cash, money. Okay, so do be clear about that. Wadi, thick yellow liquid which comes out when you're urinating. You might see it sometimes, you might not see it at all in your life. Okay, so that might be the case. It generally comes when you're passing urine. Okay, so on a general level, no. If there's medical problems, most likely you will see perhaps occurrence here and there. So sometimes medical reasons has a big factor on how these concepts play their role. Okay, so do keep that in mind. And because of money as well, okay, money, because of money, you can also expect that medical factors at times can affect that. Okay, if there are constant issues regarding that, just like when we're discussing regarding females, their monthly cycles, or postnatal bleeding when a woman has given birth, the blood that follows, so on and so forth. There's different rulings for that. Okay, but exceptional circumstances always rules. So that's wadi. Okay, a thick yellow liquid which comes out when passing urine. If that comes out, then in that situation, you need to make sure that you do wudu, not ghusl. Madhi, okay. Uh, Madhi is basically that liquid which either gender will see. So wadi, either gender has. Mani is mainly for males. Well, only males, sorry. Wadi can be males or females. Madhi is that thin liquid which is see-through and can come out when males and females see each other, or it could be because of medical reasons or something else. If that comes out, obviously, then what you need to make sure is that you must do wudu. Of course, if you've got wadi, obviously with this, you would definitely put things into the wash and so on and so forth. So washing machine, straight to washing machine. With this and this, if you can wash it off and rinse it, rinsing, washing, so not rinse, washing and then squeezing. So washing with some detergent or soap or whatever it may be is important if you don't want to give it a full wash. Okay, be absolutely clear on that. Okay, so wadi and madi, if they come and you happen to be in that situation, then you need to do wudu again. If it's on your body or clothes, you need to wash that as well. Okay, please make sure that that is done. That's very, very important. Okay. So that's mani, wadi, and madi. Okay, so I hope that's clear to everyone. Okay. Okay, right. Brother Asim, if you could bring up the kitab again, please. Jazakallah khair. Okay. So إنزال المني على وجه الدفق والشهوة. So it talks about discharge, shahwa, and dafaq. Dafaq in Arabic means something which comes out with a real thrust. So after physical relations take place, if the sperm comes out with a real thrust, with a real rush, okay, and shahwa, which means passion. So these are two clauses in the definition. Min al-rajuli wal mar'ati, for men and women, okay? So keep that in mind. Um, so I did say money was only for males, so I will correct that statement. Um, you will find it from females, but they have their own form of liquid, okay? And that liquid comes out from the female private parts with the very same reasoning when it's with passion or whether a dafaq, meaning if so whether it's shahwa, meaning it's because of okay, that has to be kept in mind both times, on both instances, whether from male, whether from female, in both instances, it is fard. The ghusl is wajib, okay? على وجه الدفق والشهوة من الرجل والمرأة. And again, it's the same reason. During relationship, males and females both will have that reason for passion and also that, okay? But again, those of us who are married or those of us who will be married in the future, afwan, no problem. Inshallah, no problem. Those of us who will get married, these are important things to know, okay? والتقاء الختانين من غير إنزال والحيض والنفاس, okay? So, what does it mean by the private parts? So والتقاء الختانين, the meeting of both genitals. So when the male private parts enter the female private parts. Okay, so we're talking about the actual concept of a physical relationship. I will use the word physical relationship so we address these words with a level of maturity, but everyone knows what I'm referring to. So in the commentary, what our understanding is, according to the Hanafi madhab, the school of Imam Abu Hanifa, is that for the males, from the private part, the top part, okay, without too much detail, the top part, if that enters the female private part, from that much and onwards, then ghusl becomes wajib. Okay, very, very important. Okay, even though there's been no discharge, even though mani hasn't come out, but just the entering of male private part to that level. Okay, the top part of the male private part, if that enters the female private parts, okay, just that much, regardless of whether sperm has come out or any liquid has come out from the female private part. If it does come out, it's wajib. If it doesn't come out and that much enters the female private part, ghusl will be wajib for every single person, man and woman. Okay, so very important to understand that according to the Hanafi school of thought. والحيض والنفاس. حيض, menstruation. So we know females have their monthly cycles. Typically, anything from 3 to 10 days is considered hayd, is considered menstruation, according to the Islamic scholars. Now, each female has their own habit. Generally, that general habit can depend. It could be 5 days, it could be 7 days, it could be 10 days, or even 8 days. There will be inconsistencies as well. You will have the odd exceptions as well. But when we make any when a mufti or a scholar gives any answers, one of the things that they look at is the consistent habit of the females. Okay, that is one of the baselines upon which mas'alas or fatwas, Islamic rulings, are given upon women in relation to their situation. Okay, so monthly cycles. So if there's monthly cycles, then bath becomes wajib. But at what point? Not when you enter your monthly cycles, not during your monthly cycles, because la fa'idata laha, that has no benefit. Okay, so that's very, very important. Okay, sorry, I didn't know we had some questions here. Does a regular white discharge, which women have most of the time, make wudu wajib? Uh, so if it's the white discharge you're referring to, which we said was uh madhi, which is what you which is and males have that a lot as well. So madhi, which is the last one I discussed, if if opposite genders have that a lot of the time, then just wudu becomes wajib, not ghusl. But if there's medical reasons, if there's medical reasons involved, then the situation is slightly different. Okay, but I won't discuss that here. I'm just discussing the general things. Uh, yeah, so it depends. Yes, it would be difficult to do wudu all the time, and that's one of the reasons upon which muftis give fatwa, upon which the Islamic scholars give fatwa. Muftis meaning the specialists in Islamic theology of what we understand as fiqh. Okay, um, so yes, that would be have to that we would have to look into that. But I mean, it's not so often that it would become a difficulty for the person or for the female who hasn't got medical issues. Okay, so we just need to be clear about that, because with males as well, it's a similar issue. So from what I know, it should be fine. But yes, if there is issues other than the normal appearance of such liquids, then the first thing that one would do is get a medical checkup. Medical checkup, perhaps exercise medical procedure, and then upon that, you would then make a decision with the ulama or whoever. And in that sense, I would recommend females to contact female scholars, because they would know this better. But it's not necessary they have to go, but it would be better. But also you can contact the male scholars as well, because knowledge has a massive play. But because a lot of these issues are very practical issues, therefore a female of a good standing in terms of knowledge are better to be consulted. Okay. Postnatal bleeding. So hayd, as I said, is 3 to 10 days. Postnatal bleeding, it's anything up to 40 days. So generally it lasts 40 days. Okay, during that period, you won't have a bath in that time. If you want to have a bath during monthly cycles, menstruation, or postnatal bleeding for those mothers who have given birth, then it's fine, but it doesn't really serve a purpose or make sense. If you just want to clean yourself, feel fresh or whatever, that's a different purpose. But the actual ghusl is done upon the termination of the menstruation and the postnatal bleeding. So hope that makes sense and that's absolutely clear, inshallah. Are there any further questions on this section before we move on? Quick yeses, quick nos. Nope. Okay. Right. Brother Asim, if you could move the screen up a bit. Jazakallah khair. الله أكبر وسن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الغسل للجمعة والعيدين والإحرام وعرفة وليس في المذي والودي غسل وفيهما الوضوء. Okay, Brother Asim, if you could read out, I think Brother Zubair is with us today.
When ghusl is sunnah, the Messenger of Allah said ghusl is sunnah for the Friday prayer, the two Eids, Ihram, and Arafah. There's no ghusl in Madi uh, and Wadi, but wudu is required for them.
Jazakallah khair. So, sunnah, when we're talking about the sunnah here is referring to as-sunnatul muakkadatu. La sunnatu ghayru muakkada, meaning sunnah which is emphasized, okay, with consistency of practice, not that sunnah which was done occasionally. Okay, so please make sure you're absolutely clear on what sunnah Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam means. What sunnah here means sunnah muakkad, the emphasized practice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Having a shower for Jumu'ah. Now, with Jumu'ah, again, a lot of people like to do it from Thursday evening. Best is always Friday. Okay. There are different opinions in that as well. Okay. But we just need to be clear that here obviously is not the place to discuss too many opinions. I don't want to over confuse it. But the idea is that in this situation, it's unanimously agreed that it's sunnah. Even the other Imam are in agreement. Imam Malik, Shafi'i, Imam Ahmed bin Hanbal, they hold similar views, I believe. Okay. والعيدين and for Eid, both Eids as well is sunnah. والإحرام and Arafah. So this is regarding those people who go for Umrah and Hajj, that they should have a bath as well is sunnah. Is the Friday ghusl only sunnah if you're going to the masjid or generally for Friday? Good question. So it's sunnah for men, it's not sunnah for women. Okay. But nevertheless, I would still recommend females to do it. And if you do it because it's a sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so the perspective of a female won't be because it's an amr, it's a commandment. Oh, well, I won't necessarily say commandment, but emphasize practice for males. So here it is. There's two types of sunnah. One is the sunnah al-ubudiyya, and one is sunnah al-adiyya. Okay, sunnah ubudiyya is that sunnah which is being prescribed for the purposes of worship. If whoever that's for, whether it's males or females, they will get reward. So that's emphasized practice. And then obviously you'll come across within that some practices or ibadas which was done occasionally, like the four sunnahs of Asr Salah, the four sunnahs of Isha Salah, and so on and so forth. Okay. Then you come across adiyya, habit. So with females, if you made an intention that this is the sunnah of my Habib out of love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you will get rewarded for that. And what's important here is that any action we do, we should first get it verified. Secondly, our perspective of thinking and thought must be clear as well. Does that make sense, sister? I hope that's answered that question. Yeah, Sister Nadia, I hope that's clear with that, inshallah ta'ala. Barakallahu feek. Okay. وليس في المذي والودي غسل وفيهما الوضوء. So this is a principle I've just mentioned. Always remember madhi, as it says here in English, madhi is the pre-seminal or pre-ejaculatory fluid. Okay, pre-seminal meaning is not referring to the thick white liquid that comes up as a result of something else. Okay, but only wudu is necessary. Okay, and likewise wadi. But as I said, wadi, it says it's post-urinal fluid. So yeah, it could come out during your urine, could come out after. Allah Ta'ala alam, you might never see in your life. Okay, so that's something to remember. Okay, brother, if you could carry on, please. Okay. والطهارة من الأحداث جائزة بماء السماء والأودية والعيون والآبار وماء البحار. Brother, if you could read, please. Brother
Water,
Asif. Bismillah.
shall I read that?
Bismillah. Bismillah.
Water purification from hadath, ritual impurity is valid with water from the sky, river valleys, springs, wells, and seawater.
Okay. So here when it says min al وَالطَّهَارَةُ min al-ahdath, so purification from all kinds of filth, whether dense or whether light, this tahara is referring to the process of wudu and ghusl as we've discussed previously. Okay, jaizatun as-sama, sky, awdiya, river valleys. Okay, so that's where we get your spring water, or your organic water, whatever you want to call it, which is the highest grade. Higher, and the next would be obviously filtered water. Uyun, that again would be the same bracket as Aldia. Springs, organic water, wells, they would be in the same category as well. Seawater, they wouldn't be because generally that's infiltrated with, I believe, different factors such as salt and other stuff. Okay, but river, valley, springs, and wells, and this, yeah, 2, 3, and 4 generally are always regarded as pure and organic. The sky, again, again, for those of us who know our science or who are good in their science, I believe the sky is part of the famous water cycle, if we remember. And the other thing is with the sky, there is other um, factors in it, acids and other things. So Allah Ta'ala alam. I won't comment further, but general flowing water, yes. General flowing water. Yeah. So here is referring to general flowing water, yeah. Um, the other thing just to remember here is um, that if you have got time, okay, then to use these waters is sunnah, okay? But if you have got a lack of time, then it is wajib. Does that make sense? Why? Because the factor of time is the pressing need. So if you've got a wealth of time, or if you got excess time, okay, to perform your processes of ablution or having a bath with any one of these, then it would be considered a sunnah. But if there's a lack of time, okay, in those systems, in that case, then ensuring that you undergo the process of ghusl or wudu using any of these, it will become wajib. And what is the defining factor? It is the time, meaning there's a lack of time. Due to the lack of time, the usage of any of these, okay, and anything else becomes wajib. But if you've got plenty of time, then it stays sunnah. So it's just trying to address that there, okay? Okay. Right, brother, if you could go on to the next one, please. Sorry, if you could go, yeah, that one, yeah. Second. ولا تجوز الطهارة This is quite interesting, this next section. ولا تجوز الطهارة بما اعتصر من الشجر والثمر ولا بماء غلب عليه غيره فأخرجه عن طبع الماء كالأشربة والخل والمرق وماء الباقلاء وماء الورد وماء الزردج. Okay. If you could read that, please.
Purification is not permitted with water that has been squeezed out from trees or fruits, nor with water in which something alien is dominant and which has changed it from the natural state of water, like beverages, vinegar, broth, legume soup, rose water, and carrot juice.
Okay, brother, if you could just unshare the screen for a second. I'm just going to go to the whiteboard. Jazakallah khair. Okay. Here we are. Okay, so here the interesting thing is there's two factors which are considered for water to no longer be applicable for usage or for purification purposes. Okay, so there's 2 points that are taken into consideration. One is when you decide the depth of the matter. In this case, okay, if if it is half or more, then your usage of water will not be allowed. If it's less than half, then it's fine. So one concept which is used to determine whether water is practical or acceptable for purification purposes is to judge by the depth, I would say. You can use some other words as well. So if, for example, there's something that's infiltrated the water, but it's overtaken the water to such an extent which is half or more than half. So only half of the water remains in its pure form, and half of it, or all of it. So if it's half or more, meaning if half of that water has been diluted or polluted with another substance, okay, half or all of it, then that water is not fit for purification purposes. So one method I'll put here, okay? One method is when you decide the depth of the matter. In this case, if it is half, or more, then your usage of the water will not be allowed. If it is less than half, if it's less than half, uh, then it's fine to use the water for purification purposes. Okay. Well, I don't know who's made marks. If we can try and make sure we don't make marks, please. Okay. I don't even know where the rubber's gone. Subhanallah. Right. Okay. So that's what we're looking at. Methods used to judge whether water is fit for purification purposes. One is when you judge by the depth of the matter. So if half of the water is being, let's say, overtaken, okay, meaning half the water is not in its pure form, or all of the water has lost its pure form, you cannot use that water for purification purposes. But if it's less than half, then it's fine. Okay. Another method which we use, so another method which, oh, crikey. Another method which is used is when one of three qualities are changed within the water. Okay. All right. So what are those three? الطعم واللون والرائحة. So one is the crikey. The taste. Oopsie. I think these caps are giving me a good time today. The taste. Okay. Number two, واللون is the color. Okay. And number three is the smell. Some of this you would have come across in science, but this is from a fiqh perspective. So in this is not a matter of 1/4, half, 3/4. No. If all three are changed, then that water is not allowed to use. If two are changed, as it serves a majority purpose, meaning if all three of these are changed, okay, then using that water for purification purposes is not allowed. If two of them change, it's the same understanding. Okay, but if one changes, then it's fine. Okay. But again, there is some further explanation to that as well. Okay, we will come to that inshallah. So hopefully that makes sense. Has that made sense so far? Is there any questions on that? Okay, sorry. How can you tell how much water has been polluted? That's also a good question. Um, yeah, subhanAllah. I suppose a lot of this would be down to looking at it from the perspective of the bare eye. Because obviously with these practical matters, you can't really go into the technical aspects. Obviously, if it was a communal issue, then you would use technical measures as opposed to just giving fatwas. Because anything which is communal, you can't just give a fatwa. All situations or facts have to be considered, whether that requires a medical intervention, whether that requires uh, academics from other fields, before judgment is passed by the ulama of the mufti. Okay, hopefully that answers that. Okay, right. Uh, so, brother, if you could just go back to the text, please. وَلَا بِمَاءٍ غَلَبَ عَلَيْهِ غَيْرُهُ, or any water upon which another substance has become dominant and it's changed from its natural state. So here, where it says the natural state of water, فَأَخْرَجَهُ عَنْ طَبْعِ الْمَاءِ, it takes the natural state away. So we're talking about those factors which when mixed with, it would, you couldn't call it water basically. كالأشربة, uh, like beverages, drinking substances. والخل, vinegar, as it says here, broth, maraq. Maraq is also refers to curry as well. Okay, والمرق. وماء الباقلة, legume soup. So I think this is a lentil soup, if I'm not wrong. I might be wrong, I might be right. I'm not definitely sure what baqila is. I can't remember. Studied this over 20 years ago, subhanAllah. So yeah, I don't quite exactly remember what baqila translates as, but yeah. Um, it says here legume soup. وماء الورد, again, rose water, and وماء الزردجي, and carrot juice. So the first thing is, if I give a crazy example, would you do wudu from, uh, orange juice from your local stores? Would you do that? What would be your inclination first? Yes or no? Everyone's quiet today. Would you do wudu? Yes or no? Orange juice from your local store, retail store. Yes or no? Oh, it's expensive. Allahu Akbar. Oh, I don't know about that one actually. I don't think our fizzy drinks and our juices have become that expensive. I mean, you can get the value ones. I mean, you got Aldi, Lidl, and some other options. Your budget stores. No, so we can't. As it says here, وَلَا تَجُوزُ الطَّهَارَةُ بِمَا اعْتُصِرَ مِنَ الشَّجَرِ وَالثَّمَرِ. Okay, these are things that are used for other purposes. Does that make sense? So it's not fit for them to be used for this purpose. And the other thing is, the key principle here is anything. فَأَخْرَجَهُ عَنْ طَبْعِ الْمَاءِ. This is the principle in this mas'ala. Anything which changes the consistency of the water to the point that if you were to look at it or judge it from a scientific perspective or from a general perspective, you can no longer call it water. In that case, then to use it for the purpose of tahara is not allowed. Well, with the rose water, I will exercise caution as it comes under the no-no. Attar, even that as well. I can't see a reason to add smell for the water because the purposes of water is to gain purity. So the objective is not to judge how beautiful the smell is, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't be for that. Is it allowed for wudu if permissible or pure water is unavailable? So these substances, if you, in the absence of water, you still can't use them. Okay? That's very important to know because you can no longer call it water. Yes, there is a process called tayammum, which we will come to later, which is a process of using natural earth, soil, sand, clay, dust, whatever it may be, which is clean. That can be used for uh, purification purposes. Rose petals. Hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. As long as it doesn't change. So the governing principle is this: فَأَخْرَجَهُ عَنْ طَبْعِ الْمَاءِ. As long as it doesn't change the water for what we understand water to be water. Okay? If we can no longer call it water or understand it to be water or classify as water, then that would be the ruling. Okay, so that's why ashriba wal khil wal maraq wa ma al baqilla wa ma al ward wa ma al zardaji, all of these, they basically change the state of the water. You can no longer call it water. But yes, anything that doesn't change this, i.e., doesn't change the consistency of the water, i.e., doesn't change it from being water to non-water. Okay. Okay, brother. Right, inshallah. We will resume from page 47. I wanted to do a little bit more, but we're going to leave it here, inshallah. Okay, so that's page 47. Any quick questions? Any quick questions? One thing I will say, and again, just to make us aware that a lot of our teenagers or a lot of our youth who are coming to the age of marriage or who are coming to the age of understanding upon whom there is um, fardiyya, wujub, sunnah in terms of Islam. It should be understood that discussing those in a class like this is very important. And this is probably the best way because it's safe, is academic, and it can understand, or we can understand very safely through such platforms or through such initiatives. Just like in the West, schools and in communal areas, they are now from time to time bringing out information which is non-Islamic. So it presses the need that much more for our children, our youth and teenagers, and those who are even married. So a lot of people who are married, they don't know the basic mas'alas. You'll be surprised. Okay, so very, very important to keep that in mind. Brother Mutahar, so the depth we're talking about, so if we've got a jug and if we talk about depth, so we say, okay, if you said to your wife, for example, I need, um, let's say, for my dinner every day, you can't give me less than, 200 milliliters of water. Now, your wife's thinking, oh my God, how am I going to establish this? Allahu Akbar. How am I going to establish this? Yeah. So, in that instance, the most likely outcome, she would get an instrument to measure 200 liters, whether it's a jug or whether it's something else. So, that's what we mean by depth. Okay. That's what we mean by depth. Just like swimming pools. Okay. When you look at the meters, how long it is or how deep it is, depth. Yeah, you get some swimming pools which are certain meters high, um, baby pool, which is not that much. So this is what we mean by depth. Okay, hopefully that answers the question, inshallah. Any other questions? Barakallahu fi, jazakallahu khair. Inshallah, any other questions, please put it through in the Quduri group. And I look forward to seeing you again, same time, same place, next Monday, bi'idhnillah. Oh, there is. Oh, chlorine. Oh, sorry, chlorine. It's a good question, actually, because I mentioned earlier, so consistency is very important in fiqh. If you jumped into the swimming pool and came out, your wudu would be done. Now, the question is, in those waters, you get a lot of chlorine that's mixed in there. But can you call chlorine water chlorine? You can. Why? Because the same water you use for the fish tanks, you can still call it water because it maintains its tabr, it maintains its natural nature. Unless the only other place, uh, yeah. Well, does it have limit? I've not come across any mas'ala But the chlorine is used for the purposes of cleaning. So therefore, I do not know of any mas'ala, Islamic ruling or regulation, which negotiates or which clarifies the usage of water with chlorine. Because with swimming pools, the chlorine is there for cleaning purposes. Um, the tap water and so on and so forth, which you put in fish tanks, like I keep fish, we have to ensure we put special chemicals in it before that goes into the fish tank. Okay, so sometimes there you got your nitrates, which has to be put in, and some other chemicals before that is suitable for fish. So in that instance, sometimes chlorine can be a hazard. But yeah, it has its uses. So I think I would that would be more of a judgment from a scientific perspective as opposed to Islamic. Okay. Does that answer the question, sister? Okay. Jazakallah khair. Yeah, because I mean I've not come across it in there's no khassa, there's no speciality in regards to that. So I've not come across it, but yes. Is it permissible for purification purposes? According to the Hanafi madhab, yes. So you jump into the swimming pool, come out. Ah, mashallah, shortcut to wudu. But personally, would I do that? I don't think so. So that's what you got to judge out, right? With the Shafi'i, according to the Shafi'i school of thought, not really. They don't actually allow it. I think for them, intention is fard, if I'm not wrong. Brother Zubair's not with us, otherwise he would have clarified that. But Jazakallah khair. I hope it's been useful today. Barakallahu feek. Any further questions, please text on the Quduri group. Subhanallah wa bihamdi subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.